Attention, please. It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
God bless us, everybody out there. I'm Tiny Tim. I'm Rob Wells. Butcher, what are you doing on my side of the lawn? The hell back over there.
Yeah, get back over there.
Yeah, right. Guys, welcome to another episode of What's the Difference, where we pretty much just try to spotlight what the major differences are between the United States and the United Kingdom. And because we always are, we're a little bipolar, we're kind of all over the board. We thought we'd bring in another lunatic from the Antisocial Network to kind of give their opinions on differences now. It's a three-way dance, right?
Oh yeah.
You want to intro him? Give him something. Give him some passion. You can do it.
It's not kind of like the freeway I like, but we'll see where we go with it.
I think this is the exact kind of three-way you like.
Oh no.
All right, guys, let's bring on our boy from Duh, It's a Podcast. Brock, what's up, sweetheart?
Hey, I can wear a wig, Dave, so it's all good.
Yeah. Put on a little blush, you'll be okay.
Yeah. In the right lighting, I'll scrub up all right.
And then you guys could rub your beards together like Velcro?
Oh.
Yeah.
Just like docking.
Oh, So, a lot. I know, Brock, you've been keeping up too, like the whole world has, as just how much fucking drama we've been dealing with in the States over the criminal prosecution of a former president. It's literally dividing this country. It's absolutely horrible. So I talked to Butcher last week just to see if maybe anybody in the history of his country, prime ministers, have been brought up on these kind of criminal charges, and we couldn't find anything. What about down under, man? Any of your guys ever been criminally charged?
No, not like that. Maybe not that I can think off the top of my head. Maybe like maybe speeding or something like that in the official car or something like that. If it's anything, it's stuff that's before they were prime minister,
right?
Like when they were in college or uni or whatever you want to call it. The prime minister before our current one shat himself at a local McDonald's. And that came back up once he became prime minister, so which was good.
Hey, didn't you shit yourself before? Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, no. Apparently, he was coming back from a rugby league game in our national competition because in Australia there's three major codes of football. So you've got your rugby league. Oh, there's four actually. Rugby league, rugby union. Then you've got your Australian Football League, which is completely different. It's not rugby at all. So I'll set you straight on that. And then you've got soccer. We actually call it soccer. So we do call it football as well. The diehards will call it football, but your run-of-the-mill people that don't sort of into it will say soccer. So you're not alone there, America, calling it soccer. And then, he was coming home, and it's sort of based state by state which football code you're into in regards to AFL or NRL, which is the National Rugby League. So he's from New South Wales, which is sort of NRL, Queensland, New South Wales, NRL country, and then pretty much the rest of the country's AFL. So he was at a match, and I don't know whether he ate something bad at the match, but on his way home, he stopped into a Macca's and shat himself in the toilet. So, but so that was his major.
That's a great goddamn story, because you never hear about any of our presidents shitting themselves. The most we heard about was when Bush puked on the Japanese prime minister.
Oh, I'm going to hazard a guess that JFK shat himself right after
the thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, we know for sure his wife did. I'm going to get so many fucking hate mails. How dare you make a John Fitzgerald Kennedy? Well, sorry. So, I actually found a video I thought we could watch. It's only a few minutes long, but it really illustrates what the differences between the titles of president and prime minister are. You guys want to take a look at that?
Yeah, fire it up.
President announced that he would not serve a second term. This has little implication for the people, as Germany, like most countries in the world, allots most power to its chancellor or prime minister. So why do some countries have both a president and a prime minister, and what is the difference between the two? Well, to start, the powers and responsibilities of presidents and prime ministers vary as different countries follow different government infrastructures. But in general, the distinction can be found in their respective paths to power. Presidents are typically elected by the people, whereas prime ministers are usually elected by a legislative body of which they are already a member. Another important distinction is their position in the political system. Presidents are usually heads of state, which means they hold the highest-ranking political position and act as the official representative of that country. Prime ministers, on the other hand, are known as heads of government, as they solely oversee the legislative body they were elected by. And unlike presidents, prime ministers can take on more than one role. For instance, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is also the Minister of Communications, the Economy, the Interior, Foreign Affairs, and Regional Cooperation, while Israel's president can only act as the head of state. But in certain countries without PMs, like the United States, Brazil, and South Africa, presidents act as both head of state and head of government. Most countries have either a president or prime minister, which can also be called a chancellor, premier, or chief executive. But some have both, with one holding considerably less power. This is true in Germany, where the president has a limited role in everyday politics and instead serves as a figurehead at official gatherings and in matters of international law. In fact, his role is not unlike that of the Queen of England, as both are considered heads of state and are tasked with appointing the prime minister, or in Germany's case, the chancellor. So which position is more powerful? Well, in a system that has both, there is no question that the prime minister holds more power. But when compared to the president of the United States, the answer isn't so cut and dry. One could argue that prime ministers are more powerful, as they don't have the same checks and balances that the US president does. For instance, in the United Kingdom, the PM can appoint, dismiss, and otherwise shuffle around cabinet members and ministers. By comparison, the US Senate has the power to impeach a president, while the president cannot remove individual members of Congress. What's more, a PM's power is not offset by other branches of government, unlike the US president, whose power is checked and balanced by the legislative and judicial branches. Today, most countries appoint a prime minister to their most powerful office rather than a president, but whatever their title may be, there is no question that both positions are extraordinarily powerful. Most countries have long since developed their governments away from monarchies and towards presidents and prime ministers. But why are some countries still ruled by kings and queens, and how much power do they really hold in the modern world? Find out in this video. Nations like Swaziland and Qatar have hereditary rulers who exert full control over legislative, executive, and judicial branches of government. One of the most successful absolute monarchies is in Vatican City, which is governed by the Pope. The rest are primarily in the Middle East and Africa. These nations tend to be plagued by human rights abuses because there aren't sufficient checks on the monarch's supreme power. Thanks for watching Seeker Daily, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, okay. Well, that was interesting. I noticed they didn't mention Putin on that list or Russia at all.
You don't answer to no one.
And he's a president.
I
So
mean,
that,
the guy from North Korea,
yeah, right.
Yeah. No, they'd come under dictator, so
you know.
Right. And Putin's supposed to be, a democratically elected president.
Mhm.
yeah, by all the people he hasn't shot.
Right. You vote
That-
for me when
that
I come to your
Video
house.
just reminded me too. The same prime minister that shat himself, when they said in that video how the Israeli dude Netanyahu can have more than one portfolio and also be prime minister. That our previous prime minister that we booted out last election, he got sworn into, I'll just count it here, I brought up the thing. So he was prime minister, then he swore himself in to become joint minister of health, finance, treasury, home affairs, and the mega portfolio of industry, science, energy, and resources.
Keyword being treasury there.
He put himself in the whole lot as prime minister, but he did it, no one knew. He didn't say to the public, hey, I'm doing this, because COVID-19 hit, and he was like, he reckoned he did it because of if anything happened to the ministers with COVID, he would be able to act. So that came out after he lost the election, I think. So there was a big kerfuffle in, that shouldn't have happened. You
It
can't
sounds
make yourself.
very Hitler-esque.
Yeah. So, it just reminded me of that video. It's like, oh, hang on, there was something about him having more, or putting himself into portfolios that, and not, it was more so probably the fact he didn't he wasn't transparent about it. He just sort of did it.
Just
And
did it, yeah.
Yeah, and it came out that he did it more so than he said, hey, look, I'm going to do this, and this is the reason why. If you didn't like it then, at least he told you. But yeah, to do it on the sly was a bit weird.
Now, is it possible that over here in the United States, the presidential structure perhaps gives that president it's like a 50-50, it's like a coin toss, like too much power in some ends and not enough powers on the others? Because you never hear about a country who's got a prime minister in spot being brought up on criminal fucking charges, because it's like he doesn't have the kind of free reign access that lunatic Trump had to just do whatever he wanted and barely be called out by anybody.
Oh, I reckon some of the subcontinental countries probably would. I'm thinking probably Pakistan and India, and off the top of my head, I think along the line, they probably had one or two prime ministers that have been done for, or past prime ministers that have been done for stuff.
I really researched it, trying to find other leaders of countries who have been put in compromised criminal positions, and what I seem to keep coming back with is just Trump and Nixon. It's like, come on, there's got to be others. I mean, we're not talking about like
Are we talking presidents that were convicted?
No, just charged.
Just charged.
Well, you got Clinton. He was charged, wasn't he? Well,
that was an impeachment. There was no.
Oh, okay, yeah, impeachment. Yeah,
he was fucking guilty.
Of what? Getting a blowjob? Who gives a shit?
I'm surprised he didn't get a cigar endorsement out of that.
Yeah, right. Hey, Bill, we got a whole new idea.
Cigars for monikers.
Yeah, or he could, or she could have got like a nappy sand or washing powder or whatever you want to call it, to get out tough stains.
Yeah, that's the one.
I know, man. Why didn't Tide contact
shampoo advert even?
We get
going to have a shampoo advert, man, with the hair he had.
Yeah, and you could have like saxophone playing in the background and a Bill Clinton lookalike.
Yeah. Doing a Daniel Craig coming out the water and with.
But that does go back to the original point of it's like maybe how we're running it isn't the way it should be run. Maybe giving one person so much absolute power. Because, I mean, let's be honest, the people keep referring to the United States as the strongest country in the world, but we are imploding on ourselves. So, like, where's this coming from?
Here we go. I just found something. Pakistani police filed terrorism charges against former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who was, as Butcher probably knows, he's had a couple of lives. Well, he mightn't know. You mightn't be into cricket. I'm just assuming that because you're British. But when was this?
No,
from?
I know who Imran Khan is.
Yeah, cool. Oh, this was on the 20th of March, 2023. So this is pretty recent.
He was heavily linked to be very, very close friends with one Osama bin Laden, and he was linked as part of the basically was part of the party that put him into hiding, but it was never proven. All part of a massive bracket of people that were investigated, or not investigated, heavily linked through specific groups, i.e. terrorist groups. My friend of his friend is, them type of things. You only have to be pictured with third parties and you're automatically linked. But yeah, I know who that guy is. But again, it's one of them things, isn't it? That you look at certain countries around the world, like Thailand, even separate places like Taiwan. These big leaders, they're all in some way, doing something.
But they're not getting hit for it like they should.
No, definitely not. Because these are the true people that run their country. These are the true people that run it under a dictatorship. They police. There's no people to.
The Philippines have a prime minister, don't they?
No. Yes.
So Marcos, that's one from years ago I can think of that probably got done because he got done for something. I don't think it was.
You only get investigated after your leadership or
expires
or overthrown. And even that, for instance, I think that's what NATO are waiting for with Putin. They can't actually do anything to him until he's basically overthrown.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not going to relinquish the power.
And that's the thing. He is right now dictator. He's no longer a president because there are massive areas in Russia that want him out. But I think it's just one foul swoop in leaving his name in the history of Russia as someone that tried to make the Soviet Union whole again.
Right.
And that starts with the biggest country in the Ukraine. If he conquers Ukraine, then he takes back the Soviet Union. That's fact. Belarus have already jumped on the bandwagon. But yeah, he's guilty of all sorts right now. I mean, and NATO are just waiting to... I think NATO need so many countries on board on the borderlines of Russia before they can actually try it.
What they got?
They've got Finland
now. Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
I think Sweden, they were saying, is due to sign up within the next few days. And then they've just got to convince... There's a couple of more.
They need to get to step in, man. If this massive army was invading all the bordering countries, why wouldn't they already be on board?
Well, they reckon he's attacking that big area, isn't he, in the east, and the eastern area. They reckon what it's got a lot to do with is where it sits on the Chinese border. If he can make that country, that area of Ukraine, and populate it, as there's a portion they reckon that falls into Chinese territory, and then he can obviously you're messing with China then.
Yeah, he's not going to step on
So,
China.
no, of course not. He knows now. He knows the messing around with the western parts of the Ukraine is, messing with fire. Belarus now know that. Now that Finland are part of NATO. Belarus need to watch, what they do, because people look at militaries and they look at Finland, and Finland might look a small country on a big map. They got like a 400,000 strong army. Them fuckers, they're Viking freaking.
Yeah, right.
DNA.
They're Viking DNA.
Was a million.
Like it's the same with Ukraine. Ukrainians are Viking based.
How they get shut down so easy then?
Genghis Khan, bro. That guy was an absolute machine. Again, he was a dictator. He took over countries, and countries automatically joined his army. It was either you joined or you get massacred.
Right.
And he just run riot. But yeah, you could just point the finger at multiple countries and key figures in charge, and they've all done something. They've all done something. Some require the news feeds. Some require to be mentioned. Others, it kind of goes unmissed because they're not an actual public threat to the rest of the world.
Right.
Or they're not in the public eye. Donald Trump is always, an American president will always be in the public eye. It's the same with the UK. We're a little country on a big map. But it's the things like the monarchy and the history of the United Kingdom, the world wars, Churchill. It's them things that make us a little country, but we have a big influence, But as far as, there are multiple people that have been in charge of this country that for me, have made embarrassingly, choices that have affected.
Well, that hairstyle and haircut is one I can think of.
That guy's a drip.
Straight off the bat who I'm talking about without even.
That guy's a fool. When you hear that guy talk, he might talk with a very, very well-to-do, English accent, but he's an absolute fucking Fruit Loop. This is the guy in a charity raising football match that speared another player because he had no place being on.
Well, our Prime Minister did that as well in a kid's rugby game. Tackled him and fell on top of the kid. So same sort of cut from the same cloth, I think.
This is a guy that made a public rule to say, to social distance
from
and at 6 o'clock on every Thursday to go out your front door and clap for the NHS, and then goes and has a fucking party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's Downing Street, and then denies it. and then denies it when they've got it on video partying. I mean, what an absolute fool. You know, Tony Blair, another. He got heavily criticised for his part in, you know,
WMDs.
yeah. I mean, I don't see that. I mean, a lot of people blame him for getting involved in, you know, a terrorist attack. Listen, that the whole world should have got involved in that. That's the way I see it. You know,
Tony Blair was hours of entertainment.
You know, you can't preach, you know, we're against terrorism and then do fuck all about it. I don't, you know, it is what it is. Did he keep British soldiers over there too long? Maybe did they like I believe everyone involved in that gained from it, you know, in terms of money, financials, oil. You know, was it all about terrorism? I don't believe so, because I believe, you know, as leaders, just what you can gain. You don't just gain, you don't battle terrorism, you know, over a few years and wipe it out. You know, it's a never-ending battle. It doesn't.
Oh, you do if you're Bush, you go and you go, we won on a ship.
Yeah. You know,
mission accomplished. That's it. Yeah.
It only gets controlled if you point fucking missiles. It only gets controlled if you point missiles. Which is why Trump was busy mates with Putin.
Oh no, but they had the piss tapes, didn't they?
You know,
allegedly.
I think they both knew that both of them were equally as fucking crazy as the next.
Nah, Trump was Putin's bitch, and Putin knew it.
See, I don't believe that.
It's true.
I
For
believe
Christ's
that.
sakes, man, when they were doing their first meeting, the media asked Putin, did Russia have a hand in Trump winning the election? His verbatim answer was, "Da." And then Trump just sat there on the same stage with this huge opportunity to really boost himself by saying, "Motherfucker, did you just say yes? I don't need your help winning an election. You had nothing to do with it. Fuck you and leave."
There's winning an election. There's winning an election. And then there's maintaining your stance as the most powerful man they deem in the world. That's what made that clown unsafe.
Well, let's flip the script. How do you reckon your elections would go if they were like the Australian ones and the UK ones, where the parties choose their candidates and put them forward, and then you go, okay, I like this one, I'll go for that?
I don't believe Trump would have ever been independently nominated and selected. He's too much of a lunatic.
What I think what we're trying to say is, in our country, we've got 3, 4, maybe 5 parties that try to run for office. Right?
And you usually have 2 that are the top 2 bananas.
So you've got Labour and you've got Liberal Democrats.
Yeah, so we've got Liberals and Labour.
I think in the United States,
but our Liberals are the Conservative Party.
You know, you and I. What would you say? Rob, is the part of the United States that is more united? You know, and they come under the same banner. You know, like obviously we know obviously about the Alamo and, you know, the United flag.
Right.
Would you say that's still got a heavy support?
What, remember the Alamo, things like that? You know, I think that we've moved on to stupider things. Like, here's a great for instance. Over there, you guys have, both of your countries have a degree of gun control that really cuts back on these mass shootings. And since Trump, the levels of mass murders in this country has just skyrocketed. And when that happens, you don't hear Republicans saying, okay, we should address this. You hear them saying, now is not the time for legislation. Now is the time for grieving. And you know what? Fuck that. There is no
Thoughts and prayers.
reason. There is no
How-
reason that we need a military weapon to protect ourselves. Everybody tries to use the well-armed militia clause in our Constitution. But that's what the fucking National Guard is. The
How
National
big is,
Guard is a well-armed militia.
How big is, so obviously, is the Confederate still a big thing in the United States?
Not so much.
Not
Depends
so
if you
much.
watch Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, right.
But what would you say? Republicans is obviously a party in itself, yeah?
Republicans have now split. I mean, you've got the Republicans and you've got the MAGA Republicans.
So, for instance, let's just say, obviously, the United States is a heavily, I've got fucking hell, loads of different,
Would it be libertarians?
yeah,
Would they be the third? Are they sort of the middle ground?
The independents.
Okay.
What would be worst case scenario in the United States of a party gaining? So, for instance, say we vote Labour, we vote Liberal Democrats. In the United Kingdom, Labour is basically everyone's, main choice. But the last few years, something's gone drastically wrong. I firmly believe politicians are fucking liars. Full stop.
Sure.
There's never any good intention. And I firmly believe when people say, "Oh, the people should take it back," if the people took a country fucking over, they'd run it into the ground.
Into the ground, yeah. But there's just no perfect answer. I mean, like for instance, if the Republicans gained total complete control, we could kiss our civil liberties in this country goodbye. They are going to take and take some more.
I
Now,
firmly believe Will Smith should be the president of the United States.
He'll bitch slap him, motherfucker.
If he does
I
anything
believe-
wrong, you'll just come up with the thing and go, look into the light.
That's right. Gotta put the glasses on first.
I just think that's great. Yeah, Will Smith.
Butcher, you ever flashy thing me?
What?
I ain't playing with you, man. You ever flashy thing me?
I'm flashy thing.
But then if the Democrats seize total control, it's not like things would go much better. If one party is in control, then what's the difference between one party running the country and a monarchy? What's
Well,
the difference? There's
The
not.
thing is, whatever party you have, you're going to have the far leaning on one side and the far leaning on the other. So,
That's it. Far right.
so let's say you've got your Democrats and your far leaning rights of the Democrats are going to be close to the far leaning left of the Republic. So it.
You got to find that middle ground, and we have not been able to find
there
that.
is never ever gonna be a middle ground.
Well, there is middle ground. It's just
No.
nobody wants to put their bullshit away to
Yeah.
get there for the betterment.
Just got to get the bite. Well, see, that's what with our gun rules that when did they kick in? 90, I think it was 95 or 93. It was after we had a massacre that I think is still up there in the top 5 in the world.
I think I can remember seeing a lot of that on the news.
Yeah, so 35 people got killed down in Tasmania, at a tourist attraction. But then within, kind of like New Zealand recently last year when they had that guy shoot off on the mosque, within months after it happening, we passed legislation. But the legislation was bipartisan. So both parties came to the table and said, yeah, no, we've got to do this. So that's, like I said, that's the only way you're going to get something done, is if both sort of go, right, we'll meet in the middle sort of thing. So
Well, by killing each other out here, that doesn't motivate our legislation. You know what they do is like the Republicans start blaming it on transsexuals and marijuana and the LGB, whatever the rest of that goes. And then the fucking Democrats are going, well, it's all the Republicans' fault because there's no legislation. Well, how's about you all quit whacking each other's cocks and have a real conversation and do what's good for us instead of what's good for you? Because let's be honest, as a majority and with all these gun-toting lunatics, if a civil war broke out in this country, it would be on a genocidal level. Nothing like what the last civil war was. If a new one broke out,
It's a fucking
people carrying.
They've already made fucking 4 films on the fucking thing. It's called The Purge.
For only 12 hours a night.
Plus, if they blame LGBTQI or whatever they are community, they'd have to change their whole lettering to LGBTQI AK15. So
Russia had a plan a few years ago, which was actually in fucking, and it made a newspaper. It made one of the British newspapers of a fucking billionaire tycoon in Russia that had an idea to buy an island. Yeah. I think Brock knows where I'm going with this. And go full on Stone Cold Steve Austin, Vinnie Jones.
Oh, yeah, the Condemned.
Right? And fucking honestly, take fucking prisoners from prisons, put them into a fucking battle royale.
Get your freedom.
Winner leaves with his freedom and a shit ton of money to change his life.
So that thing actually was going to happen?
Fucking A, it was. Because if he owned the island, he could become a dictator in his own and create his own laws.
Yeah, I guess if it's international,
he could do whatever. He could have done whatever he liked. You know, he can declare someone free. You know, and I was just sat there and I was just like, you know what? I fucking subscribe to that shit.
Well, earlier today, I was watching a YouTube video, like a guy that I watch, and he's American. I'm not sure what part of America he's from, but he was watching a video from CNN that was interviewing another former prime minister because they were talking about, it was a 2-year-old video, so it was 2021. But they're saying that, there's already been 120 odd mass shootings in America this year. So I don't know how far into the year it'd been, but it'd been the 25th anniversary or whatever of our laws changing. And the former prime minister of our country actually lives in America now. He's on some board or something, doing something. He lives in New York. And he was saying that, I know your Second Amendment and all that, your rights to bear arms, but it doesn't say rights to bear any arms, which I've never heard anyone say. Well, not that someone hasn't said it, but I've never heard anyone say before. And he said, so does that mean you can have a Hauser tank or whatever in your backyard, or can you have a, aircraft missile or whatever, or you can fly your own drones? It doesn't say you can have any weapon. And then he said, and plus, the way it's written is when the English had left and you were worried they were going to come back, so that's why you could form a militia to protect your country. He said, so in 1785 or whenever it was, fair enough, I'd be all on board with it, but he said, I don't think England are going to come back and take over anytime soon. Just the way he said it made me laugh.
I said, I don't know. Have you heard anything? Have they told you about any invasion plans?
Well, the United States.
No, UK. I was trying to make a fucking stupid racist joke, and you didn't even try to follow me.
No.
Now listen, I don't want people who are watching to misunderstand me. I'm not saying we need to take our guns away. That's ridiculous. We do have that right to bear arms, and that's a constitutional right. But there is no reason that your regular guy living next door to me should have a weapon of war. There is no call. There is, unless you are planning on waging war. There's no reason for you to have that. So if
Gas
somebody
prices.
comes out with a fully weapon they've converted from semi to fully automatic, they're intending to do some real damage with that weapon.
Hmm. And
So
the
we're
thing
trying
too with how the argument that comes up, and I've seen a comedian make fun of this, but how they say, oh, yeah, but you take away guns, law-abiding citizens, and the criminals are still going to get them. So yeah, but in Australia, apparently, not that I go shopping for illegal guns, but they're like $50,000 to get they're not cheap, the illegal guns. So it's not like and the comedians are like, if you've got $50,000 to get a gun, then you don't need to be committing a crime. You've got $50,000. So it's like, yeah, fair enough.
See, I'd be scared to
I could
fuck
walk
around.
out my house now. And I could go.
Smack a Bobby on the head and he wouldn't shoot you.
No.
He'd hit
No,
you
they
with his
wouldn't.
truncheon.
You don't see armed police in this country until
Which is so
something
strange.
happens.
Yeah, then they call out the gun squad. The
No,
ones
and
who
then they
right.
call out the gun squad. But I could walk out my house now, go literally, I would say 2 streets away, and I could go get a gun. I could go get it.
Yeah.
And
We gotta wait.
I could get an automatic. I could get an Uzi,
Wow.
and it wouldn't cost me £2,000.
Well, we have to wait, I think, just going by reports and that, not that I've ever tried to buy a gun. I think it's 28 days. You got to wait to get one.
Cool down period.
The thing that costs money is the ammunition.
$1 million a bullet.
The gun without ammunition is a blank canvas.
Yeah, that's what we got. I hear a comedian talking about like $1,000 a bullet. He's like, man, that would stop drive-by. I was like, hold on, motherfucker. These things are $1,000 a bullet. Pace them out.
The gas prices have stopped drive-bys before you even thought about that.
Exactly, yeah. Fuck that, dude. I need the fuel.
Walk by.
Well, shit. Well, looks like we are coming up to the end of the time. Real quick, let's talk about the great, the fabulous product. Duh, it's a podcast. Lay some of that noise.
Well, gee, okay. So it's a weekly podcast I do with my co-host Brooks.
In America.
He's based in Boston. I'm over here in Australia, so we find a nice cushy time in between to do it that isn't too early for me or too late for him. So yeah, we do a weekly podcast. Usually comes out about 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in America, so Boston time, I guess, which is about 9 p.m. my time. Recently, with the different time changes with daylight saving finished here, and I think it started there, did it?
Started here,
Yeah, so that screwed it up a little bit. But yeah, we just talk about anything that's either on the news or pop culture or things that have or personal stuff, and we just hang shit or take the piss out of whatever you want to, I don't know, roast, whatever you want to call it. What's going on? Like in this week's episode that came out last Friday, we hang shit on the Dalai Lama for the sucking the tongue thing. I don't know if you've seen that. Him wanting a kid to suck his tongue. So yeah, we give him a bit of a roast. What else are we talk about? Oh, how, because it had just been Easter, how in the Philippines people actually get crucified for 10 minutes to reenact the crucifixion of Jesus. So yeah, we make a few jokes about that. That's very not PC.
I want to know how. I want to know. All right. I want to know how you came up with the idea for the animation because I fucking love it.
Oh, thanks. Well, we're not male models, so that helped. Because prior to that, we were just like on here, sort of. Because I use StreamYard. We still use StreamYard to do the audio recording. But yeah, I just found a program and thought, oh well, I got the template, which is what we are, and then I just added our like a hat and the hairs and beards and whatnot, and colored the shirts. And I thought I'll make it minimal but different enough so you know I look a little bit different to what Brooks looks like. And then I just Googled microphone to put the microphones in and put the thing in the back, and I thought, yeah, if I can do this, and
I love it.
Yeah, once I've got the recording, I just have the only downside is the program will only do 15 minutes recording. Right. So let's say, you're coming up to an hour's show. I've got to chop it into 4. 4, and I've got 2 streams, my audio and Brooks from the thing. So you just click on the body of, say, myself on the animation, and then I say, yep, put, Brock part 1, Brooks part 1, so they line up, and then I've got to stitch them together.
I was sat there watching it, right, and my daughter popped her head over the back of the couch, and she went, oh, "What's that? Is that?" Oh my god! I said, "You're not watching it."
Yeah, and then I cut that down for shorts during the week to because we kick out about
big fan of it.
Cheers, mate. Kick out about 5 shorts. Like to get into the deep fakes too with the shorts to promote. Yeah. And we've had a few people think they're legit.
You got me on the Rogan thing.
Yeah, I got you with the Rogan one, and the one with Alex.
I looked at that as well. I went, no, the fucking way. And I'm like, well, I said to you, didn't I, Rob? And you went, no, Dave, it wasn't. I was like, oh, fuck.
That's not exactly how that went. You said, hey, he's got Rogan's attention, and I was like, no, that was
I wish
me too.
Well,
I'm like a massive Rogan nut, and I was like, no.
I know, right?
Well, the Alex Jones one I did this week, I had one person comment link as much to say, where's the link to the meltdown? And I'm like, no, that's a deep fake. There is no actual new meltdown. It's just to promote the podcast. And Dave, you might know, if you're a Rogan fan, you'd know Andrew Schultz.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky enough that I've sort of chatted to him via Instagram.
Oh, right, okay.
I actually have his mobile number in my phone, which is a little bit of a humble brag. But I put out, when was it? It was this morning? No, not this morning. It was yesterday morning. Deep fake of him saying, hey, arseholes, when you watch Flagrant, go watch Derrick's podcast. It's the Wish version of Flagrant. But I didn't want to burn any bridges with him, so I sent it to him first to get the okay, because usually I just put him out. It's like, I don't care if Alex Jones is pissed off or Rogan, but it's like, because I've got a little bit of a rapport with Schultz, I was like, I'll let him know. So he's like sent back laugh. I think he went, haha, yeah, sure, put it out, it's all good. So I'm like, sweet. So, yeah. And I have a chat every now and then to Shifty as well. So
yeah, we're gonna have to get you to get some anti-social network fakes going on too.
Yeah, they're fun to do, and when you find a voice, like there's different ones. Like I do a voice, like there's programs and websites that'll just do the voice, and then there's ones that you can match the voice to the face of the person that you want to deepfake, and then there's ones completely. Like I did a deep fake where I took Joe Rogan's face and put it on Michael Jackson's from Billie Jean and had him dancing. Yeah, so there's ways and there's means. And now the way that AI is getting with technology and that, before too long, it'll be just a click of the fingers and they'll be done. But
That's right.
But good to get some feedback that people are liking what we're doing. So, because we've only just been going just over a year now with It's a Podcast, and I've not personally met Brooks, obviously with the different countries, and I didn't know him prior to doing it. I just put out a call. Hey, I'm looking for someone to do a podcast with, because I previously did a couple, but one guy had to stop. He was American as well. He just had things going on in his life. And then another guy who was Australian but lived in a different state, he had to stop because he's on a show here on the Discovery Channel, I think, here in Australia. Australian snake wranglers or something. And they go around with GoPros on, sort of getting into houses and getting snakes and reptiles and whatnot. And I think he was at I don't know what they call it when they sort of do the shows at the start of the year, and he was speaking to some Disney executives or whoever owned Discovery, and I don't know whether they saw the podcast, but they said, yeah, you got to stop doing that. It doesn't look good for the brand if you're on there talking shit about something. So I said, yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's your bread and butter, what you're doing there. You're not getting paid for doing this thing. So, so Brooks and I have been doing it for a year, and there's a difference in the age too. Brooks is 23 and I'm 46. So I'm from the era where you could pretty much say anything and you could joke about anything and get away with it. And I still do, where he's from the era that he sort of watches what he says. Because I'll be like, just say it, just joke about it, like.
Yeah, me too. They're just words, and if you have a really big problem with words, look, guys, we can't. It's just like the Trump thing. We're either a nation of laws or we're not. You cannot tell me you can say this word because we said so, but you can't say this word because we said so. Fuck you. Do something. This whole cancel culture, I've been saying it for 2 years. Cancel me, bro.
Yeah, but well, I keep saying to Brooks, we're not big enough to be cancelled, so it's all good. Don't worry about it. But
that's it. That's it. There's someone fucking sat there watching you, and they're going, "We'll wait."
Well, I hope they don't have to wait too long. Put it that way. But Brooks a few times he's better now over the year. But when he first started, he'd say something as a joke, and then straight after he'd be like, "Just joking. That was a joke." I'm like, don't say that. Just back it up. Sort of
apologize.
Yeah, put your conviction into it.
Controversy sells tickets.
Yeah.
Well, guys, look, you can catch Brock over here on the Antisocial Network. He's putting up his videos of the shows. He's putting up his deep fakes and his shorts a few times a week, and we all have a good time watching him over here. So come on over and check it out. You can check us out on other projects. Now, real quick, before we get out of here, me and Dave Brock were kicking around an idea yesterday of launching a new little contest. We haven't quite worked out the details yet, but it's going to be something along the lines of get us to 5,000 followers within 30 days. And I'm going to get the Antisocial Network tattooed somewhere on my body. We're going to let the listeners choose.
Okay.
So just let everybody know that's going to be coming up soon. And on that note, stay with Brock. Me and Butcher are always here for you. Love you. Mean it. Bye.
See ya.